gang, what's going on? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for taking some time to check the video out, much appreciated. And guys, today we're going to be talking about why, in my opinion, it's impossible to stop cheating in bass tournaments. We're going to have that conversation. You know, there's been it seems like it's a reoccurring deal, but it seems like I've noticed it a lot, specifically over the past 2 or 3 years in MLF, on the Bass Pro Tour and the Elite Series, about guys getting accused of getting local information, you know, different types of cheating scandals. You know, we heard about the lead weight deal, we heard about guys tying out fish, or just different aspects of cheating. So we're going to talk today about, like I said, why it's impossible to stop it, and there are some things that I think you can do to slow it down, and I'm going to give you guys sort of my recommendation, and I'd be curious to hear about you guys too, you know, what you guys think would, you know, put a stop to some of this. So anyway, guys, real quick, just wanted to give you the weekly reminder about our summer Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. Guys, if you're struggling to catch fish on, you know, your favorite lake, this is a great resource to help you out. I'll put the lake map breakdown link in the description, and if the lake you fish is not on our map site, you can book a virtual lesson with me and we can go over it one-on-one. So anyway, Fish the Moment lake map breakdown, link in the description. Okay guys, I've been hearing a lot about this on the Bass Pro Tour, a lot of it on the Bass Pro Tour, some on the Elite Series, about guys, you know, getting local information prior to the cutoff, or, you know, sometime prior to the event, that's helping them do well in tournaments. Now, I want to talk about this particular aspect first, and then we're going to get into some other aspects of cheating. But guys, it is nearly impossible to police getting local information. This is something that's been going on since bass tournaments started. Some guys are simply more connected than others. They've got buddies, whatever, that help them to certain degrees. And I think most guys, most pros try to They try to stay within the rules and, you know, not break the rules. But I think there's a lot of pros out there, guys, that really live in that gray area a lot, all the time. Because, and here's one of the reasons I'm going to say that this is an impossible rule to enforce. I'll just use my example too, what I've seen in my own fishing. Guys, I have literally lost count of how many times over the past 30 years where I've been, you know, say the day's over and I'm getting gas in my boat or something at a gas station in the evening, or I'm, you know, somewhere around town where the tournament's going on, and so some local angler will come up with good intentions and start telling me where I can catch fish at on the lake. And if I say, well, we can't get any information or can't get local information or something like that, he goes, well, that's fine. He goes, but you can't keep me from talking. So I've had him just, while I'm gassing my boat up, just start talking about where I can catch fish at. And everybody has this happen. It's very, very common. So from that standpoint there, you know, it creates a tremendous gray area. So you can say, for example, let's take a scenario that happened to me one time on Lake Kissimmee. I was fishing, I was practicing for, I can't remember if it was a Bassmaster or an FLW tournament years ago. And anyway, I was coming in after the first day of practice, getting gas, and I pulled up to the gas station there. And, you know, through the whole time, I'm sort of thinking where I want to practice my next day. It was the second day of practice. And this guy comes up to me and starts telling me about this area I need to go look at. And it just happened to be the area where I'm thinking in my mind that I wanted to go practice the next day, because I was sort of breaking the lake down. And this is the area that I wanted to go check out. So he tells me about all these fish he's been catching in this area there where I'm pumping gas. So the entire tournament, I started thinking to myself, I went back there, I went to my plan, I went back there the next day, and I got thinking, it's like, okay, if I win this tournament or do good in this tournament, am I going to get disqualified because some guy told me that he was catching fish there, even though I was planning on fishing there? So from that area, that's why it's impossible to police the local information rule. It's really impossible to do that. That's one specific example. Now, I know there's we've seen examples on the Bass Pro Tour where guys got texted information. You know, there's some blatant stuff like that. But when you're talking about the no information rule, it goes from just an innocent, getting some innocent information like at a gas station, to, on the other end of the spectrum, knowingly soliciting information. And there's a lot of stuff that falls in between. I mean, there's a lot of times, guys, I've heard guys trying to give information, and you can't receive information, or you can't ask for information, but you can't plug your ears up. I mean, so you may access some information and you may choose to use it or not, and then people don't know if you were planning on doing that. So it's all over the board. So from that standpoint, that's really an impossible rule to enforce to a large degree. But I do think what the deal needs to be is, for the most part, the punishment does not fit the crime in a lot of these tournaments. Because, for example, there was that tournament, that NPLF tournament, where that dude, he got caught not having a fishing license and won the tournament, and he forfeited $100,000. Guys, to me, that was not. If you have an honest mistake, let's say you got a bunch of stuff going on in your life and you just forgot to get your fishing license and you win the tournament, somebody shouldn't have $100,000 taken away from them for an honest mistake like that. Give them a $10,000 fine, but don't rob them from winning the tournament on some type of a violation that did not have any malicious intent. And I think ultimately that's what has to be determined. Does an angler have malicious intent to knowingly and purposely cheat in a tournament? If there can be, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that somebody had malicious intent, then yes, throw the book at them. But when you have all this other stuff where it's like some people just forgot something or overlooked something or made some type of an honest mistake, don't throw the same penalty at them as somebody that had malicious intent. Again, go back to the financial fine. Say, yeah, sorry about that, but you're going to have to pay $5,000 right now, because you violated this rule. I mean, that needs to be revisited. Now let's talk a little bit about, the more, and there's, specifically what I'm talking about there are some of those rules that are just minor infractions. I mean, stuff that, like some type of somebody getting a speeding ticket for going 5 miles an hour, faster through a no wake zone or something like that. There's a difference between somebody, throwing up a little weight, going a little bit too fast, and somebody blowing through a no wake zone on purpose, going 60 miles an hour. Or it's the same. Okay, let's use another example like that. I've seen guys, countless guys, run underneath bridges that were marked no wake, and people told them that in the tournament, and they didn't get caught for it. So sometimes like that, guys don't even, they forget. They're thinking, they're excited about getting to their spot, and they accidentally run on plane underneath the bridge. Don't disqualify those guys for an honest mistake like that. Slap them with the fine. I mean, give me a break. So let's talk about the hardcore cheating, the problems like the walleye dudes that cheated in the tournament and filled them with lead, guys that have marked fish, tied out fish, all this type of stuff. That is sort of on a different level there. And that is the whole reason why the polygraph, is in place there. But the problem with that is that the polygraph is inadmissible in court, and the polygraphs are very, very unreliable, because my Army Ranger buddy Rodney Schmolak, that's one of the things they taught him in Ranger school, is how to pass polygraph tests or how to fail polygraph tests. That's something you can't rely on. So from that standpoint, tournaments cannot rely on polygraph tests. I know guys for sure that have been cheating in tournaments, for sure, and they pass polygraph tests time after time after time. So a polygraph test to a lot of people is not a deterrent. Really, the only way that you can have a solid deterrent is you got to have marshals. If you have a marshal on the boat with you, it really, really cuts down on the entire aspect of cheating. I mean, it does completely. But the problem is there's always going to be evil geniuses out there. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that it's not rocket science to figure out how to cheat in a tournament. But the problem was, and the guys that get caught doing it a lot of times are the guys that just get greedy about it. They start making mistakes, they start doing it too much. And if you look at most of the guys that have got caught in cheating, that's probably what happened. But guys, I can tell you right now, there is not a single bass fishing professional in this sport, I don't care who it is, that has not broke a rule in the tournament that could have gotten them disqualified in the tournament that either they didn't get disqualified or they got overlooked or whatever. There's got to be some common sense behind it, and there's got to be some discrepancy, because I've had situations with tournament directors. I've had other friends of mine had situations, and a lot of times if you are honest and you explain the situation to tournament director, most of the time they're gonna side on your side, unless it's something that's just really, really malicious out there. But overall, it's a broken system, because we have it all goes back to the violation does not fit the penalty in a lot of times, and a lot of times there should be no penalty for certain violations. I don't think for certain violations that there should be penalties, just like for getting your fishing license. I do not think that somebody should be disqualified from a tournament for forgetting to buy their fishing license. Give them a fine. And another thing, in my opinion, if you're not violating any state or federal rules, that should be a lot of the benchmark for whether or not somebody has violated a rule and should be disqualified or not. And honestly, guys, I think a lot of it is politics. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys get away with a lot of stuff over the years because they were well-known dudes. They had a name. They were sort of poster children a little bit, and they sort of let it slide. That's just the reality of the world. That's the way the world operates. There's no way that you can really get around that. So it's a tough thing, man. It's a tough deal, and it's something we're always going to have to deal with in tournaments a little bit. But ultimately, anglers, they sort of have to police themselves. And one of the biggest deterrents is that there's not a single pro angler or angler out there that wants to get caught cheating, because simply what that does to their reputation, what that does to their future in the sport, you can't discount how big of a deterrent that is. That's a major deterrent in tour level fishing out there. But once again, in my opinion out there, if you're in these gray areas of rule violations, man, I don't see why people should get so bent out of shape about that. But again, if you've got malicious intent to purposely and intentionally violate a rule to win a tournament, and you know that it's a violation and you go ahead and do it anyway, that's another story there. But it's not one shoe fits all on this, man. You can take any rule violation that you have there, and there are degrees to that violation, and the punishment should be whatever the degree of that violation is. So that's just sort of my 2 cents on it, guys. It's not easy. It's going to be going around. It's not going to stop as long as there's competition. It's just like in any other sport out there. People are going to try to take advantages and push the envelope. And I got nothing against guys that push the envelope. I really don't. I mean, in fact, I've got nothing against guys that sort of are in that gray area. If you can push that envelope in competition, and where you're not breaking a rule, but you're on that border right there, I mean, I think that's just being a fierce competitor. It happens in every single sport out there. So anyway, guys, let me know what you all think, and we'll talk later.